And we are live. Gloria's back. Happy to have you.
Hey, hey, everybody. Hi, Sean, and Happy New Year.
So, for some reason, the microphone's not working. So, if the audio's off this week, I will have it figured out by next week
Uh-oh.
for anybody listening. I think it's
So
fine.
your mic and our headsets aren't working. So it's going to be a really good episode. That's usually what happens when the tech is crappy.
Right? That's okay. So it is um New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, New Year's Day. Who better to bring it in with
Than you.
than me? Yeah. um, this year's gonna be a big year. It's this was kind of a long time coming, this podcast, because we were trying to do it, I think, before Illinois. And then we just kept bumping it and bumping it. And, well, kind of ever since I came on yours. And then
Yeah.
when we talked about New Year's Day, I was like, that's perfect.
Well, it's my only day off, actually.
I gotta
and
force you.
and has been for a while. I mean, I took Christmas off, but commercial construction, very, very different than residential and or even multifamily. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that you're not bothering anybody working in commercial. You can do that year round, and they want you in there too. It's like
Well,
it's time.
typically, yeah. I mean, it's when people aren't there, right? So there's usually a lighter load in at least the, I guess, office space or even in the mixed use buildings, the spaces that are typically trending commercial, maybe not in use. We've traditionally worked a lot of fitness and retail. So, end of year, getting to New
Mhm.
Year, of course, a lot of refreshes and repairing things that need to be repaired before a New Year rush of everybody going to the gym in January and February. So, yeah, just lots going on in the different sectors and such.
That I will never miss that New Year, New Me crowd when I was working out, because it was just like, man, like it's when I was going consistently, it was just like another Tuesday, but then there was this tidal wave of people, and you just kind of watch them all fall off again. But that, like, sometimes 2 months was just so stressful because it's like,
Yeah.
it's throwing off your own routine and stuff. But I was always happy to see new people at the gym though, because you were like, good for you. Um,
Right.
get
I
out
hope
there.
you
But
stay, you
that
know.
was the thing. After like the second year of that, I was like, these people aren't even staying. What are we doing here?
Well, the gyms, a lot of them, at least the smaller gyms and the gyms that run specials, right? Like a lot of them, unfortunately, and fortunately for the businesses, unfortunately for the people, they don't even cancel their subscription because they want to tell themselves also that they're going to like keep going. So they keep paying for something that they don't use, which is like really unfortunate. I mean, it's great for us because we build out fitness spaces. So
Totally.
shout out to all the fitness owners. You need a gym built out anywhere across North America. We got you. And I say we because like Brawley and Sean are totally a part of our team this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got you.
Um, you talked about some big things happening out your way. You're quoting some big stuff.
We are.
Yeah.
So a lot of growth in 2023 and realizing what niches we want to be a part of, what our mission and true vision is as a brand, folks that we want to collaborate with and continue to grow with, and others that we don't.
Yeah.
Uh, and there's growth in that. And so growth took many twists and turns and shapes and sizes for me as a business owner and as a person. And also just realizing that at heart, I'm truly an artist.
Hmm.
And that's part of being an entrepreneur, is knowing also where you land and fall.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, a lot of big things coming in 2024, because with the growth of 2023, we
Hmm.
also, and I say we because I hired business coaches, I brought on my longtime assistant as a partner, who is
Brilliant.
now transitioning into silent partner so that she can focus on, herself, as she's dedicated like 10 plus years to me and all my crazy wild ideas. And so now she gets to like sit back and make money and not do anything, uh, you know, and as long as we make money, right? Obviously. And so there's so much, right? And bringing in other crews and other teams in other parts of the country, people that I've worked with on projects in the past, bringing in new people who straight up came to me and were like, "Hey, how can we be a part of Glow Joy?
Yeah.
We are in this city, we know these people. Like, do you need project managers, boots on the ground here?" And so that's also really cool, because all the things that I've been working on and steering our brand towards are finally coming into fruition now that I'm in, year 4 or 5 of growing this business, right?
Yeah. When I started, I had the conversation with my cousin about we're not going to make any money and it's going to suck for 5 years. And that was the way I went
Yeah.
into it. Obviously we did pretty good so far, but I 2021. So this will be our third year,
Hmm.
our fourth year. Anyways, regardless. Um, yeah,
Yeah, that's why I said 4 or 5, because I'm
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
we're like kind of fourth, kind of fifth year, depending on where you look at the timeline. But anyway, yeah, 4 or 5.
Um,
So 3, 4 for you.
yeah, and I had a conversation with somebody yesterday. Um, with all the adventures that we're doing, it was like, this new year, I want to work with more people. Let me know about the next one. And I kind of just had a few minutes. I was waiting for the dryer to end, and we had a good conversation of just like, that's exactly where I was last year at this time. Of I would like to work with other people. I would like to travel. I would like to do all these things, and it all came to fruition. You just got to like say it and point your ship in that direction, and eventually you get there. But it's cool to be able to say that to somebody. I think if 3 or 4 years ago you were like, I'd like to be doing what I'm doing now, people go, "You're nuts. Why would you do that?" Um,
Well, I posted a really funny quote actually, and I'm gonna butcher it because I don't have it in front of me, but
okay.
it was effectively, and I posted this on Instagram. I didn't post it on LinkedIn, but it should be posted on LinkedIn. And it was about Noah and his ark, right? Like, if Noah had literally stopped and listened to every single, passerby and family member, and even probably his wife and whoever else, right, about what the heck he was doing, he would have never finished the dang arc.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, moral of the story is just follow course, right? We have this vision, and obviously we have to plan it out. Can't throw spaghetti on a wall. Also learned that, through many other failed businesses in my past, and even corporate careers, and just life, right? So you have to have a plan. You have to have a plan.
Yeah.
You can change your plan along the way, but you got to have something. It's like starting a construction project with no scope of work. Just, hey, this is what we want to do. I'll take a deposit and then we'll finish it. That's a recipe for disaster. And
Yeah.
people do that
Oh yeah.
still to this day. It boggles my mind, you know?
The first time that I lost a bunch of weight, I found Schwarzenegger's Five Rules, and it was like have a clear vision, trust yourself, avoid the naysayers, work your butt off. and give back. And it was
Yeah.
like I feel like when I'm doing those things, stuff just falls into place. Um,
Yeah.
it just it, there's lots of like books and people out there and giving advice, that kind of stuff. But it all kind of revolves around that stuff. It's like figure out what you want and then just do that, right? Everybody that wants to say whatever they want to say, they're more than welcome to, but has nothing
Right.
to do with what you're doing here. Just keep trucking on, and then when things start flourishing, you got to start giving back. And I think it keeps you
Hmm.
humble. Um, and it opportunities come from stuff like that. It's not
Absolutely.
like you wouldn't think that it would, and they do. It's just crazy.
They do. They do. And one of our biggest projects actually of 2023 and will be largest project probably of 2024 is a massive restoration project, and some of it started with a little bit of give back and just being obedient to whatever the vision was. And now that particular project and relationship has opened doors that would have never been opened otherwise. So you talk about large projects and giving back, I truly do believe that that's 100% why a lot of us get along so well. It's that give back portion. As a community, we enjoy giving back, and a lot of the collaborations are give back and also training effort, which is one of the biggest parts that I love about this restoration project. The way that we were able to collaborate with the owners was to almost create a mini apprenticeship school or training school for people that wanted to learn about plaster and drywall and mixing paints and different finishes and wood finishing and restoration and things of that nature, right? So while we train and educate, we're also repairing
Yeah, getting the work.
this, yeah, getting the work done and repairing and restoring this incredible piece of art, which is a building that has 100+ years of construction history. And what better way to teach somebody about construction than where it all freaking started, you know?
Right.
And yeah, it's just it's all very neat, right? And so I learned that that's probably one of the areas where I'd like to expand,
Yep.
and that is in training and leadership and just educating more people about construction, the trades that we've chosen, which are drywall and painting, finishing, you know, and getting more people excited about the construction industry, whether like in a little capacity or they end up joining forever and ever, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of accomplishment that comes from doing construction. So even if somebody gets into it, dabbles with it, maybe it's not for them, you
Right.
still get that like I can do a lot of stuff now.
Right.
Doesn't take very long. Like there's a certain, it's almost like a common sense that you hadn't tapped into before.
Hmm.
Um, Intangible stuff. I think a lot of people leave work every day and they've not quote unquote done anything. Like you've kind of
Right.
worked your ass off all day on, doing what you're doing, but there's nothing tangible that you can kind of touch and walk away from, like, okay. Or, no real defining finish line every day too, right? So you can just kind of cram and cram and cram. It's yeah, I think construction does a lot of good, and we need people now more than ever.
What is it, for every like 5 or 6 boomers retiring, we have one
Yeah.
new person joining the industry. And like you said, that's if they stay, right? Because a lot of them don't even end up staying in the end. And so it's not just about bringing people and getting them excited about the construction industry. It's also about retention.
Yeah.
How do we keep these people here? As a woman in construction, I perhaps may relate to a younger lady in construction whom has never been in a masculine or predominantly masculine environment. For a lot of us, we joke around on Instagram about having a restroom we can go to,
Yeah.
or being the only lady using the ladies restroom if there's union ladies, right? And for me, it's the nearest deli or Chick-fil-A
Yeah.
or Bloomingdale's. A shout out to Bloomingdale's, whoever, right? Because it depends on where I'm working. If I'm working on a job site that's large enough to where we do have these portable restrooms, very rare that they're going to have a separate one for ladies to use, because even in 2023, it's still very uncommon to have that many women on a job site, or, diversity in general.
And it would also be very rare that a bunch of men would leave that alone too. Like even if there was a
Oh,
separate,
yeah.
like they're gonna go in there anyways. It's when we built that,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
I had to write a note actually the last site I was working on, that said this restroom is
yeah,
for ladies only. It's not gender neutral.
yeah,
And there's obviously reasons for that on a job site.
totally.
We're all extremely dirty. It might work in other settings, right? I live in New York and have lived in New York for over a decade now, on and off. So, most commercial bathrooms, particularly restaurants and bars, they are gender neutral in small cities,
Yeah.
particularly in New York. I don't know about the rest of the country. I can tell you about Texas and other parts of the South, and there's always a, you know, separation. But in New York, due to space and plumbing, for as long as I've ever lived here, which was 2009, most of the bars, most of the restaurants, particularly small hole in the walls,
Yeah.
are going to have one restroom, and people are totally used to that.
Yeah.
But on a construction site, that's it. Different story. Yeah.
We did that massive Vision truck. It was an enormous building. Um, but we had union trades on. It's a union company. And anyways, uh, through the winter, we had these, it was like a trailer that came to site that had a left side and a right side bathroom, but it was like heated and it had tile floors and
Oh,
it was
yeah.
had
There's some
running
fancy ones
water.
out there.
It was great. So we had a woman on site with the bricklayers, and they were right on top of that, like the company I was working for, where they labeled the one women, one men, figure it out. Like we had a weekly meeting, we just brought it up, and there was no problems. And I was shocked. I was shocked. Um, actually, so when the spring rolled around, they took those out, and then they brought in like Johnny on the spots, and the
Mhm.
electricians just didn't come again. They were like, "We'll be back when that toilet's back." Like so we kind of spoiled them, but it was nice because we had like an air conditioned bathroom
Yeah.
throughout the summer. It was beautiful.
Ooh,
Uh,
that's nice. That's nice. I refuse to go in any of those outside
yeah, they're super gross.
things anyway. They are super gross. I work in construction. I'm still kind of a germaphobe. I will hold it. Okay. Used to sitting in traffic for hour and a half in Houston, Texas. And yeah. Anyway, just no, no. So 2024, Fresco slash Brawley slash Glowjoy and whomever else adventures. I know you got a couple of them coming up, and
Yep.
you and I are trying to plan something, obviously, mostly you, because, I'm too busy doing a million other things. But, you know, it's going to happen, right? All these different adventures. And where did this idea come from? I know it's your podcast, but I like
No, that's fine.
reverse interviewed you here because,
Question. Um, so I think the adventures all kind of sprang from the beginning of last year when we were talking about like it'd be really cool if on Black Friday, we got a house, and then when Cam flew in, he could make some money while he was here. Uh,
Mhm.
and that was kind of, I think that was the first mention of working together with people. And then
Nice.
it kind of planted that seed where I was like, um, why am I not working with other guys? Because I was a solo guy for years. It's just
Yeah.
nobody's reliable. Nobody wants to put in that 100%, right? They're just not going to carry your company the same as you're going to. Um,
Right.
but when Nate from Nathan's Drywall, uh, we got pretty chummy, and we were talking, and he was like, I had a partner before, but the guy only wanted to deal in cash and like a bunch of things that just weren't feasible to continue. So he started doing
Right.
smaller things, and it was the first time that it kind of clicked where I was like, oh, that's not bringing someone into my company and don't sully my name kind of thing. That's matching up with another company that has the same views as you, and now that's a feasible thing that we can do.
Right.
um yeah, so we started doing projects, Nate and I, and Chad Hasser from Illinois.
Yep.
I've stayed in touch with him since Vegas, and he was just super busy. And he's like, I got
Yep.
this big Fresco site. I wish I was more excited about it, but there's so much going on. And I was like, "Well, why don't I come down and give you a hand with it?" And we kind of laughed about it for a minute. And then the more we thought about it, we're like, why don't we do that? It's going to take you
Yeah, why not?
yeah. And then it was like, get Cam involved. And then as soon as that started, it's snowballing like crazy since then. Um,
Right.
It's I've had lots of people reach out of how do we get involved? How do we do this? How do we do that? Um, we've got two big fresco projects kind of in the, I don't even know what to call it. Um, in the mix, I guess. Nothing's 100% yet. And
It's
then
in
that
your pipeline. It's in your
pipeline.
pipeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah, Napa Valley is the big one. And then Chad's got another full house coming up. And I think that's probably
Nice.
April. I would imagine the other one's going to be somewhere in June or July. And then we've got the big Rocky Mountain adventure out west in February.
Nice.
It's, yeah, very exciting. And I love
And
it.
subtrades have been traveling and doing what you're doing for many years.
Totally.
And for something as unique as fresco,
Yeah.
it makes absolute sense to have experts that do fly, very much like the Venetian plaster specialists and other type of specialties, much more affordable, as we've talked about on
Totally.
other podcasts. And but still, it makes sense. Or even for some of the projects that I have going on, for example, where we're talking about multi-unit, multi-family drywall projects. And you're right, the talent, it's here, but then they want to charge an arm and a leg because they feel like they can. Or they don't want to try semi-automatic tools. They just want to hand tape everything and bill you a daily rate. And they don't realize that the semi-automatic tools are going to save their body as well as just allow them to do more jobs
Yeah.
at the same rates. And so, it's a opportunity for me to just collaborate with other companies, very similar to what you're doing with the fresco, and also just be able to take larger jobs where I don't need to worry about having to carry all the weight of that job myself.
Right.
And while I picked up a set of tools the past couple of years, everybody knows that our project management company and project management is really like where we flourish and shine as a brand.
Yeah.
And so being able to take large drywall jobs plus mix it with our project management is like a marriage of both worlds for me, right? And so just excited about the idea, like you said, and putting it out there. And also just opportunities with the fresco and with other products that I never used before 2023, tearaway beads from Trimtex. Shout
Perfect.
out to Nate for even showing me what the heck that was, right? And so we learned so much from each other. And, I never claimed to be a drywall expert, but at this juncture, definitely know a lot more about drywall than I ever thought I would want to know, first of all. and the second thing is I have just grown so much in my knowledge of construction, just being immersed in this world of drywall because and finishing in general, right? There's a lot that you can fix with paint, but not really.
Mhm.
And you can fix shoddy framing, you know, but it
Yeah.
takes a lot of work and a lot of talent. And having good framers and good borders, like that matters. And so, as a remodeling and finishing company, just being a part of the drywall community and being immersed in the drywall community, the drywall tool community, we just started using semi-automatic tools this past month for the first time ever. And like,
Pretty
whoa,
slick. Yeah.
yeah, pretty slick, right? So we all grow together each and every year. So I just find it so exciting that as our brands grow separately, we're also here collaborating online and talking about ways in which we can bring it all together, right?
The kind of exciting part for me, um, when I jumped into finishing 100%, like I stopped running sites, I focused. I really
Right.
missed that being involved with everything. Like when I'm on a site and I'm like, "Do you have a set of prints here?" And somebody's like, "Why do you need to see that?" It's like, "'Cause I'm like,
Because
what
it
do you
matters.
mean?" Yeah. Like, why are you holding the prints away?
Yeah.
But so this big site out west, I'm in touch with the builder once a week, and we go through
Right.
what happened last week, what's happening this week, what's happening next week. Um, and then I'll give him my 2 cents on, if these 2 trades are gonna butt heads. For instance, he had a plumber that said he needs the whole house to himself. It's a 30,000 board foot house. You don't need the whole house to yourself. But
Is it an insurance thing though?
no,
Because,
no, it's just I don't want
okay,
everybody in my way. So
gotcha.
I said, if you've got the fluff time in the timeline, which he did, I was like, give him, 4 days or whatever, a
Mhm.
head start, and then tell the electrician he can come in on the Friday. And so you're giving that guy a little bit of something, but you're also telling him like, this isn't like a dick around week. Like you've got to get going. If you want the time by yourself, bring in more guys.
Right.
I'll give you the 4 days, but we're not giving you 2 weeks in a home build for yourself.
No,
Um,
that's ridiculous.
I think it is. But to a
2
new,
weeks 2 weeks is ridiculous. I think 4 to 5 days is fair. Is this for the rough?
yeah, so it's slab on grade and everything
Mhm.
is floor heating.
Okay.
And then just running all the plumbing through everything. Uh,
Mhm.
for the size of this house, they've done it super efficiently. Like the downstairs is all 10-foot ceilings. And
Mhm.
it is, they've got a massive garage, they've got a theater room, they've got a bunch of things, but it's not like vaulted and wasted space. And then upstairs there's
Yeah.
6 bedrooms and I think 6 bathrooms. Like each bedroom has an ensuite kind of. Um,
Wow.
Pretty wild. But I mean, if you look at that as how are you going to use your space for a family home, it doesn't have
Yeah.
to be all this like big wasted space everywhere. You can get everything you want in a footprint
Yeah.
if you do it properly. And they have the space, like your 10-foot ceilings and then 9-foot ceilings upstairs. I was
Mm.
like, that's beautiful. And then actually
Yeah.
above that is a 7-foot attic, which is basically consists of like a hallway. It's a hallway with mechanical stuff and yeah. Um, but yeah, super neat. It's just nice being a part of all of that again. Being able to give my
Yeah.
2 cents, being able to kind of like use the sharpest weapon, if you will, a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and then being in touch with designers again. I really missed that. So I'm excited about that this year, where now we can provide that as a service. Get me in touch
Nice.
with your designer, get me in touch with your builder, and I'll take everything from there. We've got the team, we've got the products, we've got the companies making the products backing us. Like it's kind of a
Yeah.
no-brainer. I'm waiting for that moment where builders go, these guys that we bring in, we're paying them way more than we should be, and they're a pain in the
Right.
ass. So why wouldn't we go with these guys that come and have fun? It's like free marketing. Like there's a lot of upside to it, and you're not bringing
Yep.
in your buddies like you are. But I mean, like these are some of the best finishers in North America we're bringing. It's not regular people. So there is a
Yeah.
benefit to it. I'm excited to see where it goes. It's if I could be doing that every 2 months, flying out, doing a project, come back, that would be so great.
I honestly I'm excited for you. And I think that the more we talk about it live on social media and put it out as an option to people, the more they will, know, right? Who knew until you all did that big fresco adventure? And then I was like, oh, I want to try fresco. Like, I work a lot of retail, that would be cool for a feature wall, or that would be cool for a hallway in a lobby, or a vaulted ceiling, like you were
Totally.
talking about in
Uh,
some of the restoration places. So there's just a lot of opportunity, right? And the sky literally is not the limit. They say it is, but it's not. You reach a limit and then you just kind of push to that next limit. And I think for people like you and me, it's that old fitness bodybuilding mentality, right? You reached that point of fatigue, right? And
yeah,
failure. And then in 2 days, you're going to go home, you're going to eat some chicken or some steak,
yeah,
you're going to carb that up, and
yeah.
then you're going to come back in 2 days. You're going to try to add more weight, right? Like, if you can't add more weight, then how are you building muscle? And so I see building a business and just building a brand and everything that we're doing uh, very, very similar.
It's cool that you say that because I think anybody that's had any experience in the bodybuilding industry has an excellent relationship with failure. Like
Yeah.
it
Or
is one.
sports in general.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
anytime that you're pushing your body to the limit, like you are, it's very rare to have a situation where you are walking in every day looking for failure, and
Right.
that's the goal. So with especially with the business, I've implemented that where it's like we're going to push this thing till damn near failure and survive, and then
Yeah.
we're gonna do it again. And
Yeah.
that kind of goes back to that. We're not going to make any money for the first 5 years. That is and isn't true. If you're constantly pushing the limits and you're taking losses where you need to, like learning
Yeah.
experiences and all that kind of stuff is good for you. Um, Yeah, it's very exciting. The when you brought me into LinkedIn, that all kind of clicked to me, where I was like,
Okay.
okay, this is like a business opportunity now. This isn't
Mhm.
just a play around with your friends. Like this is something
Yeah.
equitable.
Yeah. And that's why I chose LinkedIn as my platform
Really?
to, utilize for building the everything construction community, which is something that I started in 2020 and had a few others that joined and helped. And I'm going to interview a couple of them at the first couple of weeks of January. So that's going to be super exciting. And, LinkedIn, I researched it today actually because I was working on the event for next week. And it has over 1 billion users in over 200 countries. And to me, it's the most underutilized platform by the construction industry and most people by far. I've been on LinkedIn for a very long time. I have a lot of connections from real estate and my previous corporate background in banking. And I also have a ton of connections on LinkedIn that are not on any other social media platform that are top voices in the construction industry and have a lot of pull and influence. And so for me, bringing you all to LinkedIn, it was really more about showing you all a sandbox that I've been playing in for a while. And I recently joined y'all sandbox over on Instagram and in the field and all of that stuff, right? So it's more of a how do we create a more cohesive community, right? And yeah, LinkedIn, you're on mute somehow, but LinkedIn is going to be huge. 100%.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Okay. Um, yeah, that it is super interesting to me because designers aren't, sorry, designers are on Instagram. However,
Right.
they are not watching degenerate tapers.
No, they're not.
You know what I mean? That's not
Absolutely,
what they're on there
absolutely,
for.
yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're right. You're right.
Like it's a um I've got like Wu-Tang as the noise behind some of my reels. It's like that's not ever going to reach that community in a positive way, in my opinion. When you get
They
in,
do though, actually. So that's a misconception.
okay,
Follow Snoop Dogg on LinkedIn and
okay,
yeah, Snoop Dogg's on LinkedIn.
that's
And he is
amazing.
very popular on LinkedIn, huge entrepreneur. For people who don't know this about Snoop Dogg, he's a lot more than just a rapper and a pothead. He is behind a ton of brands. He's partnered with Martha Stewart
Wow.
and
What?
so many others. What? Yeah. Yeah. So follow Snoop Dogg on LinkedIn and see that you really don't need to filter
Yeah,
on LinkedIn like you used to. I think back maybe 10 years ago, it's just like a little resume.
yeah,
LinkedIn has so many different features now, and they have a creator feature, which, I am a LinkedIn creator. It's almost like I don't know, influencer on other platforms of sorts. And others have like top voice badges and
yeah.
different things. And these are engagement badges where the algorithm or AI, whatever you want to call it, because that's what an algorithm is. The AI that runs this whole thing says, hey, this is somebody who talks a lot about construction, and they seem to be getting a lot of engagement from other people who talk a lot about construction and are verified, LinkedIn voices in construction. We're going to push this person's content. And so I'm not saying I've got this algorithm figured out because I
No,
don't. But what I do know is that for all the social media platforms and our brand manager who helped me with the whole rebrand of Glowjoy and has known me for a very long time, also group fitness and, bodybuilding person, she told me I don't have to be everything on every platform. We really just need to pick like two
yep,
and grow on those platforms. And then once we grow on those platforms, then all the other platforms will follow suit, or, they won't. And then it doesn't really matter because that's not where our audience is anyway. Right?
Yeah, the first time that I went on LinkedIn was years and years and years ago when I was building like a professional um
Resume.
kind of, yeah, right. And I
Hmm.
was more or less just looking on there of like what are people looking for and that kind of stuff. And it felt like I didn't belong a little bit. And then when I went on this last time, it's a totally different thing. It
Yeah.
is a absolutely totally different thing. Um yeah, it's pretty cool. It is definitely underutilized. And I think this year I'm gonna start putting in blocks of time in the evenings of just like
Hmm.
this is your back and forth time. And if it's a half an
Yeah.
hour, even it's a half an hour that didn't get done yesterday. Um,
Yep.
yeah, so I think that's gonna be a big one for this year. And like you can be vetted on LinkedIn by people as well, right? So
Of
when we're
course, all the time. We've met a lot of small family offices and developers who have just read a comment that I wrote on somebody else's post. And they're like, hey, who is this lady? I like her. And then
yeah,
they'll see that I'm connected to somebody else that they know. They'll reach out to that person, and that person will be like, oh, yeah, Gloria, you have a construction project. Yeah, you definitely want her on your team. You
cool.
know, so it gives you street cred in many ways that other platforms don't. I have a ton of recommendations, probably need to ask for more, but you can ask people to write reviews and honest recommendations, and their resumes also out there, right? So people are seeing, like, who is this person that's giving her the recommendation,
Right.
right? Are they verifiable or somebody worth anything, right? And so speaking of Snoop Dogg, even made a joke on one of his posts because he was looking for other businesses and other industries to invest in. And I said, what about construction? Let's go. And everybody knows let's go is like my thing, right?
But
I always say, let's go,
yeah.
you know. Probably from the growing up on a Dutch island and hearing people go, go,
Yeah, okay.
you know. So shout out to the Dutch soccer team, for teaching me how to be like
It's
super amped up.
kind of like your war cry, right? Or it's like,
Yeah, it
let-
is. Let's go. I
yeah,
always say that. It's like my top comment on most people's posts is
yeah,
let's go. Whether on LinkedIn or on any other platform though.
yeah,
Just so that you know, it's not I used to. I don't act different on LinkedIn than I do on any of the other platforms. And what you see is really what you get.
yeah,
Today, I have my hair down, which is rare because I didn't run here from a job site or, not ready to go on a job site. But other than it being the first and it being like a super chill day, like every day, this is what you see is what you get.
yeah. I did very early in my career, I decided that, or it's like if the head guy's coming in today, he's going, I'm not doing anything different and I'm not treating him any different. That's just the way it's going to be.
Good for you.
Well, because
I
at the end,
can't say the same. I can't say the
yeah,
same. I played the game and the corporate monkey suit and all of this stuff, and I did it. I did
yeah,
it. I tried anyway. My ADHD won in the end, but
yeah.
I tried. I tried.
I mean, I think you have to, and I think you have to get sick of it, and then that turns into I'm just gonna be me. I'm good, right? Like it's you couldn't be bad at what you did and just be yourself. It's you kind of have to play this game, right? Um,
Yeah,
but now it's if you've got to act differently being somewhere, you're probably not a good match for that person anyways, right? Like uh
100%.
company wise or life.
Yep.
Um, and
Any
it's
relationship. I
yeah,
mean, you can't choose your family, so that's different. But other than family, yeah, any relationship in life, you just, uh, You
Yeah.
got to surround yourself with the right people 100%.
Yeah. Now saying that, I think that happened a lot last year too, where
Yeah.
we just found this awesome team. And it's growing like crazy. Um, I mentioned that to Teak on her podcast, where it was just like, this is an expanding balloon kind of. It's in the
Mhm.
beginning, this was like we're going to build our own table and we get to choose who sits at it, and
Yep.
it is just ever expanding, which is exciting. It's a real community,
It
where
is.
everybody's treating
We
everybody.
talked about it actually on my last podcast about the different communities. So we talked about LinkedIn having a construction community. In my last podcast, like it was the, I guess, Friday before
Mhm.
New Year. So, it was very, very crowded. A lot of people were at home. And so it was very busy in the comment section. We had a lot of live viewers. And, I did bring in one of LinkedIn's top construction voices, obviously, for obvious reasons. But also, the community started to pick up momentum. We were at episode 5, which is
Yeah.
not a lot, but still, it's picked up some momentum within the small construction community that we have on LinkedIn, and it is very small. So we talked about not just the LinkedIn community, but the fact that the Instagram community also very small. And
Yeah.
within both communities, there's qualms. There's, the people who don't like this person, or the people who always have something to slide into some DM about, or whatever,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's no different than high school. Nobody, or corporate setting, right? In the water cooler area as a water cooler chat. So there's that, right? There's that. And it's the one thing that I don't like about social media. I have to be honest. It's the one and only thing. There's I just wish people would take it for what it is and, just leave drama somewhere else. But yeah,
It doesn't do anybody any good. That's
yeah,
the thing that rattles my cage a little bit, is it's like there's nothing positive is coming from that. So why are you doing it?
right.
But again, that is kind of the beautiful part of social media, is everybody gets a voice, but you know, I feel like some people should have less of a voice.
Yeah, yeah, that's true in many aspects, especially coming into 2024 and me living in the United States of America, our neighbor. You already know it's an election year. It's going to be a wild ride. It's going to be so wild on social media. I am ready. I have got popcorn,
Yep.
you know. I'm not participating, but I've got the popcorn.
But
I'm
I'm gonna
watching.
watch. Yeah.
I'm going to watch this whole thing unfold. And I have no predictions other than it's going to be wild. Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely wild. And so, social media for me, I have to take it as something fun
Yep.
and as marketing. And so it's a part of our marketing budget as a company. And we have checks and balances. And I've hired different folks to help me with marketing and with social media and with the brand. The one constant has always been Megan. So shout out to Megan from Go Social Up. If anybody's looking for a person that really understands your small business and brand, uh, sorry for the shameless plug, but Megan is absolutely, I mean, she's not going to get you a million followers in like a week, guys, or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or even any of that. But the followers that you do grow and the engagement that you do get is going to be real. And more importantly, it's going to convert to sales. And I think that that's all we really care about is the money that we are spending converting to sales, converting to real relationships, converting to, you know, continued growth. And some of it is this, right? You and I
Yep.
building relationships and growing and planning projects together. Like, how do we now find a project to work on together
Yeah.
versus direct, to consumer? So it's a little bit of both. And our brand is, again, growing, evolving. People know who we are. They know our logo. They know our memes, they know, they know, right? And so that was something that I didn't have pre 2023. Pre 2023, I had the social media platforms. I wasn't doing anything with them. I'd post here and there, post to post, but I was like, what is the whole point of all of this if we're not using it, God bless you,
Thank
to
you.
grow or to push our mission, right? Our mission is to leave the construction industry better than we found it. Very similar mission, I think, to a lot of the companies that we collaborate with and a lot of the people that I collaborate with and or bring on my show or I go on their shows. I'm not going on somebody's show just because they have, X number of followers or because they have a huge, audience. It's more about whose brand do I want to support as they grow
Yeah.
and as I grow, right?
I think that's going to become very important in like 5 or 10 years from now that we're doing this today, because there is just going to be this tidal wave of work that needs to get done and nobody that can facilitate it
Oh yeah.
the way it wants to be facilitated. Like we would like people to come in and not make this a headache, and the quality needs to be in a certain place. And I think in 5 or 10 years from now, that's going to be a real problem, trying to find the right people to work with. And the companies and the people like what we're doing right now, if that continues, you're going to have a real team of everybody from all over the place. And yeah, is it more expensive? Of course it is, but we're flying them in, and they're, top tier people in their industry. They understand everything. They
Is it though more expensive? Let's
no.
backtrack. Let's really break it down. We made a reel actually about, and it was a young lady breakdancing in front of a job site. And we joked around, about when people ask us to break down our estimates. At Glowjoy, all of our estimates are broken down, so you never have to ask us to break down our estimates. But a lot of people just will give you a roundabout number. They'll say, hey, this job's going to be about $80,000. And they don't tell you what the $80,000 is broken down into or what you can expect or any of that. Right. And even if it's $8,000 or $800, like it doesn't matter. Right. The point is having that, if we break it down and we actually break down the cost of transportation flying you in, which is part of general conditions,
Yep.
right? And overhead, we would be spending that on local crews anyway.
Yeah.
Number one, okay, would still be a line item on the bill. So there's that. Okay, so you have a lodging expense, right? But you would be paying parking or something else in lieu of that. And in New York City, parking a commercial van or truck
Yeah.
can cost like 100, 150 plus per day. Or you just take the ticket and you eat it, right? Because there's some instances, and I learned this from some of my sub trades, that it's easier for them to just double park, go do what they need to do for an hour or two and eat that ticket. And that's that, right? Because the cost of parking is so expensive. So there's that, right? You have material, costs as well
Yep.
that are going to be equal regardless of where the labor is coming from. And the most important thing that you have is time. And so if you hire a crew that doesn't know what the heck they're doing, or and we experienced this with our restoration project, we brought in a lot of newer sub trades to see what they could or couldn't do. We tell them they could work 1 or 2 days, we'd pay them a daily rate, and we'd give them a little section and say, hey, tape this section or tape this wall or float this wall or whatever, right? And some of them were good and some of them were like,
Really bad.
really, dude, you've been doing this for 8 years. I sent you a video of one of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like you can't bullshit a bullshitter, number one. No longer a bullshitter, been saved since then. But former bullshitter here, you 100% and a total New Yorker. You're not going to BS me, right? Yeah. We're going to find out pretty quickly whether you can or can't. And even the guys or gals sweeping the floor on my job sites know what good quality looks like. They'll send me a picture or video. If I'm not on site and they see something's off, they'll send me a picture or video, be like, yo, this guy's been like in this one little section for like the past 3 hours. Like, you want us to tell him to do something else, or whatever, right? Because they know we got to work fast.
Yeah.
The quality has to be good. And when the time calls for it, like if we're cutting glass tiles or something and doing some mosaic or something, yeah, we're going to charge for the extra time for the one expert to do it and nobody to be around so that it's safe, blah, 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 whatever. Right. So know that time matters, because I think that flying in a professional crew, okay, to do the job and bang it out in 1 to 2 weeks, when a local crew is going to take 1 to 2 months versus 1 to 2 weeks, you're saving so much money and time. And the quality is going to be that much better. You're not going to have as much rework, especially if you have someone like Sean or myself involved from pre-construction, looking at the plans, asking the architect for details like what trim goes here, is there a trim that's not called out in the plans, just shooting out RFIs before all the things even get started. And RFIs are requests for information for those who are not in construction project management. I'm sorry about the acronyms.
You gotta learn the acronyms, people.
Yes, you must learn the acronyms, and you must learn the tools. Also, to all my PMs out there, I'm not saying that you have to go put on a tool belt and go learn the tools on your own job site, but learn the tools at your own house. Watch some YouTube videos, understand framing and layouts and all of these things that, yeah, on paper, lean management degree, certificates, blah, blah, blah. Like, you need to understand also how long things take. Go try to tape a wall in your basement so that when the taper sends your estimate, the estimate over, you're not sitting here being like, that's ridiculous. You don't need that much material, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's my favorite one. You don't need that much compound. Yes, we do. Yeah, we really do.
Yeah, there is an understanding that I think isn't there. And I think it's because we're just running out of people that can do it. When I was running sites for the contract work last year, you would see it all the time with the other guys that were running sites where, we're having issues with the drywall. Well, how? It's all steel stud work. Like, if the steel stud work's done correctly, you're not gonna have issues with certain things. But the people that don't know what they're doing, the first thing they want to do is blame whoever was on site and their work and whatever. But you're there to double check.
I call it this.
Yeah, anybody but me, man. Anybody but me. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. If you don't have capable people running a project, it's just as bad as not having capable people building it. Like,
yeah,
you have to have all the pieces.
Yeah.
And accountability is huge. Like, when you're not doing site visits and you're not doing site meetings and weekly meetings or progression meetings, I'm sure it's a pain in the ass to some of the trades the first time they work with me, because they're like, why are we getting together to talk once a week? It's like, this isn't this, we don't need that. Yeah, we do. And then
Bro, I'm bringing them in to estimate the projects together at this
yeah,
point. Like, we're working on a 4 condo unit conversion here in New York. And one of the biggest things where I'm seeing a lot of overlap in the estimates for the trades is now that a lot of the heating and cooling systems are electrical. The
right,
appliances are electrical, and even the hot water heaters are electrical, and all of the VRF and, air purification systems, everything is electrical. But there's a lot of cross pollination with the wires, right?
right.
And then you've got low voltage people also who are getting involved because a lot of things are also now low voltage,
Yeah,
you know?
all your
So
lights, cameras,
it-
and
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. So bringing all the trades together, including the low voltage person who is going to program it all together in the end so that Mr. or Mrs. Business owner or Mr. or Mrs. Homeowner can run all the apps on their phone is really, really important. And so the collaboration on our team at this point in 2024 and even Q3, Q4 of 2023 is, especially the jobs where it's the same people.
yeah,
We always use the same plumber, we always use the same electrician. And so we are bringing them into pre-construction meetings
yeah,
while they're bidding. And we're like, hey guys, and they know they still have to bid against other people, but we'll let them know. We'll be like, hey guys, these are where the numbers are falling in. This is where we need y'all to be. Okay. We're seeing that we're being charged for wiring of XYZ on your bid and also on your bid. You guys need to figure out who's going to do it.
yeah.
The structure for the units on the roof, you and the GC need to figure out who's going to do it, but I can't have it on both bids. The hot water heater, who's going to be mounting it? I've got it on 3 different bids, right? So you guys all need to have, and we'll have a Zoom, right? We don't
Yeah.
even need to get them on site. We'll have a Zoom, we'll have the plans up. The project manager will be on the call, project engineer will be on the call. Sometimes the architect will be on the call, even the
Brilliant.
owners, right? And we'll just have a phone call and then we'll finally have a good leveling off of bids. And a lot of times have the same team. We try to bring in new trades
Totally.
every once in a while because we also understand that there's a lot of new companies coming to market and we want to give them opportunities, particularly if we're getting references from suppliers, which is my favorite place to get references from, is from the suppliers. 100%. So, we're trying to HVAC companies now. I'm not married to an HVAC company, not really married to plumbers either, electricians, but we tend to use the same plumbers, electricians on most of our jobs, particularly in certain geographies. And it's worked out very, very well for us. Even some of the subcontractors that do our build outs, like the framers and the boarders, are often the same people, sub trades in other markets. We've worked with the same people in Texas for years. We've worked with the same people in Florida, so all the people just kind of, we recycle and then we bring in new folks as well, knowing that if the new folks can't complete the job, we have people that can,
Yeah.
or we can do it ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And like I was saying before, if the first time somebody works with you, they might be like, this is different than what I usually do. Maybe it is a little stressful, but the second time they're like, oh, I love this. I love the
Oh,
fact
yeah.
meetings, because all these places where there was a headache before in
Hmm.
other companies, there aren't any headaches here because everybody has sat down, everybody understands. And then, like you said, when installation of things that are on, there are 3 different line items and 3 different quotes, if you use those quotes, you're going to be higher for no reason.
Mhm.
And then, later on, if somebody doesn't do the work, it's taken off of their quote, I would assume, or something like that. But get all that done in the beginning,
Oh
right?
yeah,
And then
because it
accurate.
saves a schedule. It also saves a schedule.
Yeah.
What sucks the most is you don't look at the quotes, and I think that this is something that a lot of DIYers, maybe like folks that do investment, or even new developers, people who come to some sort of money or are choosing to use their savings to invest in buildings and or conversions of buildings or whatever, took over family business, who knows. My point is that they don't know what they don't know. They feel like because they're in real estate they need to know,
Yeah.
and they do know. And coming from a real estate background and a banking background, I can tell you that no, you don't. And I didn't either until I really, really, really got immersed into the construction industry. And so, you got to know and understand all the different aspects of everything. And the timeline is the biggest time waster. When you don't have these things hashed out in the beginning, you have to stop the job, because then we have to figure out now we've got two people on this roof over here ready to install and build this platform for, the units
Yeah.
that are going to power the entire, that heat and cool the entire building. And communicated who's going to do what and when, etc. We use project management software also, so that's another thing. We searched and for years we tried a lot, we failed with a lot, we even tried to build our own thing, Google Drive, like text messages, WhatsApp groups, all the things.
Yeah.
And we finally landed on a project management software, and that has also been a complete lifesaver, especially with all the virtual teams and all the different people that we have working with us. And more importantly, just having so many jobs at once. I
Yeah.
would never be able to have this many jobs at the same time if we did not have the project management software. And that is like our secret weapon. It's not a secret anymore because we signed a contract with them, and we are officially, actually going to be speaking on webinars and on behalf of the project management software at conferences and posting more social media content about it, etc. But we really, I mean, it took us a long time, and there's a software for everybody out there. My software may not be your software.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who swear by other software solutions, and that's fine as long as you're using some sort of technology beyond email.
Yeah.
Seriously,
Yeah. You're not
beyond email.
notes. Um, yeah, I mean, the nice thing about those softwares, especially with quoting too, like they've got really helpful quoting software. But keeping a job organized is like half the battle. But
Mhm.
what, from a bird's eye view of it anyways, you could just go in, see progression. Like, do you guys upload pictures and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we have daily logs.
Yeah.
Our takeoffs are also being done by a high schooler who is an apprentice
Mm.
to his mother, who is a builder. I mean, literally learning how to read plans, utilizing the software, and utilizing the software to color code all of the different parts of the takeoffs. And obviously, they're verified
Yeah.
and by uh,
Mhm.
others, on the estimating team. But a high schooler, 17, 18-year old
Pretty
doing
cool.
takeoffs. I know, right? I mean,
Um,
he's not your average high schooler. He's obviously an incredibly intelligent young man and has grown up in a construction family. But still, with software, we're able to bring in young people who are interested in tech, who are good at tech, they grew up with tech, and can help us pump out estimates much faster than we ever could, right?
yeah.
I have a takeoff. I can now pump in the cost per, the cost code if it's not in there, because now we have a bunch of cost codes also in there. So it's almost automatic. So we're also able to estimate really large jobs, which is what I'm doing after this today, is estimating a really large job of 50 plus units that needs to be boarded, taped, and painted. And that's 3 trades right there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'll do it all today because we have software.
Yeah. And it's organized.
Yeah.
I like that line items. It's, I think it was Manny, from the Construction Life podcast that, was the first time that I really started to think about line items. But when you're sending an estimate over and you
Hmm.
have all of your line items that you can provide, and you've just put the things that they're paying for, they're going to look at what else is available. Like, why are there zeros here? What is that? And then
Hmm.
it opens that bridge to like, well, this is what that is. These are the benefits. It's new. It's fresco is one of those things where, are you going to paint, or are you going to fresco? And everybody goes, what's that? It kind of
Yeah.
opens up those lines of communication of like, this is what it is, and these are the awesome reasons to use it in whatever you're doing. Like in Illinois, the lady down there has 3 houses on the go all the time, and she's flipping them and then renting them or selling them or whatever. And she took us into a house. It had
Ah, that's why Chad's busy. Chad's got a very similar model to us. All you need is like 1 or 2 investors, y'all. They will keep you busy so much. And then, of course, there's all the other clients, right? So, and every year you get 1 or 2 more, and then it snowballs. So, yeah, if you can lock in an investor,
brilliant.
duh, brilliant.
And
You're
it's
part of the team.
that's kind of his, like, his baby right now, because they are finishing custom homes, taking it from board to paint, um,
Nice.
which is brilliant, right? If you're not priming your own work, then you're coming back at some point for touch-ups. So
Yeah, we
you're
prime
you're
everything
eliminating
ourselves.
all of that. Yeah, it's smart. You don't need to paint it. Somebody can come and make it colors, but if you're priming your own work, you see it primed, everything's good, we're on to the next job.
Yep.
He's got it figured out down there. He's got like a monster company that is his, like, quote unquote, um what the hell's the word? Wow, I'm drawing a blank. Competition. His biggest competition is his buddy, and they back and forth all the time. They use each other's subs, finders
Oh
fee.
yeah.
Like, it's just so smart. And then on the other side of all that, he's now gotten into this investor where it's like, you're going to be doing a lot of fresco work, all the fun stuff.
Yep.
So he's kind of to a point where he can step back a little bit, run the business as the drywall business, and then start taking on some of these other sites that he wants to do. Like, it's the fun stuff, but the food's
Yeah.
on the table from the business.
Yeah, that's kind of, I like Chad. I've only chatted with him a couple of times. Met Chad through obviously our connection. I think I've met a lot of people through you, and perhaps vice versa. But I truly admire what he is doing, and also just his work, which is why I feel like more people need to follow him, and he just also needs to put more of him out there.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the problem with a lot of the gentlemen on social media. They're very camera shy. And believe it or not, people still want to talk to real people. They want to see real people. And I hate the way my hair is today. And I absolutely hate the way I look on camera most days. I
Yeah.
really do. But I do it because I know that that's what's going to grow the engagement. That's why it's not because of what we wear. Well, for some, yes, but for most of us, that's
Yeah.
why females tend to grow faster than other pages on social media. And it's just because we're a little bit more okay putting our face out there. And that's really what engages with people. Humans still, even if it's through screen, they still want to engage with other humans and feel, like they're in that room or a part of what's going on. And I've learned a lot about social media this past year. I'm not claiming to be an expert by any means, but Chad, put your face out there.
Right,
Not
Chad.
just your, yeah, not just your work. Your work is beautiful. It is. Your work is beautiful, but like it's a lot more than just the work. It's the man behind the work, and it's also the story behind the work,
Yeah.
and even the ups and downs and in betweens and all of that. And so for this year, I want to be more like Chad. I started that a little bit last year where I only work on projects that I want to work on, and everything else we have professional crews and teams and sub trades, and we are overseeing and project managing. And my project management business has been around for years. We've at this juncture, done millions and millions and tens of millions in projects, uh, not revenue projects, just
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
projects built and, ever growing. And so I I want to enjoy a little bit
Yeah.
more of that owner side of the business this year. We're going into, year 5, 6, and it's that time, like you said, for me to not just grow the business, the brand, and make money because we have made money. And I do pay myself a full salary, and live off of just this business. And a lot of our trades and crews and, 1099 folks, they mostly only work with us. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm very grateful for that and very proud of what we built. At the same time, I work way too much. And so, this year I'm putting it out here. Today is January 1st. 2024.
Mhm.
And so I'm putting it out there that I don't want to work as hard this year as I have last year or
Yeah.
the years prior. I want to continue to work smart and
Smart.
bring on more people that have the same mission and vision. And I really would like to collaborate with more people like you
Yeah.
and others, that I've gotten to meet, whether it be on this platform or other platforms and or other virtual spaces. There was that whole Clubhouse era,
Yeah.
and I have a ton of connections. It was like the wild, wild west over there. But I mean, even bigwigs like Grant Cardone and, other names were on this platform. And so they've all moved to like the spaces and whatever. But yeah, there's still connections from those days, right? And so just continuing to build from that. I don't want to do everything myself. I am not a super woman. I hate the feminist movement and have said that on many podcasts. I really do. We cannot do everything ourselves. We can do a lot, but we
Yeah.
can't do everything ourselves. And so that is my message for 2024. More collaboration, more
Yes.
vacations, more fun trips, more advocating for the trades and getting people excited about the construction industry, more training programs, apprentice programs.
Yeah. I think, like you just touched on it of your brand is, the work is great, but it's you, right? That's the important part of it all. And when you've got your face out there and people know you, the stories, I found that myself, where uh, the integrity that you build as a company, yeah, your projects are going good and all of those things, but nobody sees the back end of it. But when you're on your
Mhm.
stories every day, we won, we lost, we're up, we're down, just sharing your thoughts, there's a lot of accountability that comes along with that. If I say that I'm going to do something in a day, we're going to box this whole house out, if I don't box the whole house out, I then have to go on and be like, yeah, the thing I said we didn't, well, you know, that we didn't do it, even though, or whatever. It's you are forced to be accountable, which is great. I like it a lot. And when people are looking at companies to work with, when there's a face to the brand, a recognizable person who, you know, is accountable for their actions, it's a no-brainer to work with someone like that. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's very neat. And it all seemed to have happened by accident. Um, Everything just keeps falling into place. It's pretty cool though.
That's just the way life is, though, right?
Yeah.
It all falls into place if you just kind of let it be. You can't be too much of a hippie about it. Like I said earlier on, you got to have some sort of plan
Yeah.
and some sort of vision. But the reality is that if you just go with the flow and follow, your heart, which for us is Holy Spirit, then it'll all fall into place the way that it's supposed to. Like they say, God's plan, not my plan. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
It's not my plan. I mean, and Walt Disney had a quote, and it's the quote that I probably wrote in most journals growing up, and a quote that I have at my desk in my office. And it's, if you can dream it, you can achieve it. And effectively, it's if it's something that's come to your mind, like an idea,
Yeah.
then even if you don't know how to do it right now, you can still do it, right? This past week was very interesting for me because we have a taping crew, right, that we've been working with for years and years. And, I picked up some taping tools a couple years ago and started to do little jobs myself. Really learned a lot about plaster, the history, and a lot of different things. I also, thanks to the taping queen, you and a bunch of others on social media, predominantly in Canada,
Is it?
got introduced to semi-automatic tools. Because in New York, as we talked about in our last episode, everybody hand tapes.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Everybody. And the spaces are small enough for the most part that that's okay, right? But I didn't really see a lot of semi-automatic tools and or see them for sale. I actually saw some level 5 all semi-automatic tools and bazookas and stuff for sale at one of my local retailers recently, and I was excited.
Yeah.
Not because they're level 5, but just because they had semi-automatic tools. So now we need to talk about getting Columbia in there because, but anyway, and others, right? I've recently received a gift from Can-Am Tools. I won it as one of the social media contests. And man, I must have entered like a zillion contests on social media and then ended up winning, as part of the Drywall Podcast's giveaways. And Wolfgang sent us a really nice kit with, some goodies and even some 3-ways and other things to try out. And this past 2 weeks, I told my tapers to focus on the butt joints.
Yeah.
And I would handle all of the corners and angles.
At about
And they
3
were
times the
like,
speed. Yeah.
yeah, they were like, what? You hate corners and angles. And I do. I mean,
You do.
traditionally, I do.
Yeah.
Traditionally, I do. But then I came out with my tube. You know?
Yeah.
And
You
they're
run
on there
through a whole
still
fight.
they're on there stilts doing what they do best. I mean, don't get me wrong, I can't run stilts and I can't do ceilings and butt joints faster than they can on their
Yeah.
stilts, even hand taping. So, but still, between the two of us,
Mhm.
we busted out a almost 6,000 square foot space in like less than a week.
Yeah. That's wild.
And there was two of us each with a helper, so that's four.
Yeah.
And so like and the site was clean at the end of the day every day, because you know how I run my job sites. So no mud on the floor at the end of the day. Everything was swept and mopped or vacuumed or whatever. And they're literally actually going to sand tomorrow. And we'll be done. Very little and minimal sanding though, because of the tools and the angles and everything else. And there's a learning curve. Don't get me wrong. There's a
Totally.
huge learning curve. I'm still probably nowhere near as fast as I could be, but way faster than if I was hand taping it.
Like a,
Way, way faster.
yeah.
Like way faster.
Um, I worked with a guy named Bill at the beginning of this year, and he's like a 50-year taper. Like he's one of the super old school guys, super vetted, like really nice
Yeah.
projects. And I had my auto taper there, and they were still taping ceilings, flats, and butts by hand with the
Hmm.
bucket. But he was so fast that it's probably faster than if I was running the auto taper. But in the corners, he's like, yeah, just run that auto taper and then and roll and flush it, because that is the fastest way to do this. And then same thing, we got talking about the box, because I've got my whole setup on site, and they're like have trowels and they box stuff, but it's a lot of handwork.
Yeah.
Um, when it comes to running your angles, like that throttle box with the angle head, he agreed. There is no way to do that any faster. It is
Hmm.
like you are running with it when you get good at it and you're not passing back and forth. Um, you
Which
know,
is a little bit of where I am. But
yeah,
then, and there was one wall, which, because we're working on restoration work, not everything is straight either. So sometimes the angles aren't going to work, but I can still go with the tube, and the hand taper can still go behind me, and it's still way faster. So it was the first job that we did together. And, he knows that I picked up tools
yeah,
myself. And that's why he hasn't gotten as many jobs as he used to get with us. But also at the same token, we refer him to jobs that we
totally.
don't want and are just like, here, take it. We don't even want a penny from it. Right. So we're helping him grow his business, and he's seeing our business grow. This was the first time that we did a job together where he also saw me training other people and using the semi-automatic tools
Yeah,
and the trowel, which he doesn't use a trowel. He uses, pan and knife.
straight up knife
And
guy.
yeah, straight up knife. And so he saw me doing the corners with the beads and the trowel. And he was like, give me that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, let me see that. Well, he does tile work, so he knows how to use a trowel pretty well. But he actually, was mimicking a lot of the movements that I was doing, and then said, well, what happens if we do this? Oh, no, that's not going to work,
Yeah.
whatever. So it was a really cool experience for us to like exchange tools,
Mhm.
and play with each other's literally tools, and also understand, okay, now she's going to be faster on this because she's got this tool and she's practiced it too. And that's what it is. I mean, I had so many columns to do. I practiced doing so many corners
Yep.
and taping so many corners with the trowel with so many columns that I got really good at it. And also just watching videos
Yeah.
online of other people doing it. There is a certain finesse to how you hold it, but really it's what's most comfortable for you. And as a lefty, I found the trowel a lot better for my wrist and my forearm and just everything
Yep.
than the traditional pan knife. Um, Situation. I mean, still use a pan and knife for some stuff. And again, it's not like I'm out there taping jobs every day and that's like my full-time job. But when we do really large jobs and it's like a collaborative team thing, I am really, really excited now because I can bust out my semi-automatic tools, bring
Totally.
in the pro crew, and we can do more jobs way faster. I can pay them more, right? And more importantly, they've seen it work, and they've seen somebody who has not been taping for 15 years like they have, or 20 years, or whatever. and I'm still getting quality workout.
Yeah.
And so for them, it's almost me encouraging them to also use the tools, because for the longest time, I could not get any of these people to pick up any of these tools. They refused to pick up any of these tools. They didn't want to try them.
I
They would
mean,
tell me they would tell me it takes more time. And I'm one of those people. It will take more time. It's messy. And it is, it's messy. So, but you know, you gotta, it's a new consistency with the mud, 100%.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I never have a problem with somebody trying something and going, that's not for me. I've always got a problem with someone not trying it and going, that's not for me. Like, how do you know? Right? Because yeah, it could be
Yeah, it's
messy.
like a picky eater.
Yeah,
How do
like
you
I don't
know?
want onions. Have you had them? No. But I don't like them or whatever, right? Doesn't make any sense. Because
Mm.
I've tried a lot of things this year that I didn't implement. Like it's just not for me. It's not the way I do things.
Mhm.
But through doing that, I implement a lot of things that I learned this year too, because it's like just give everything a try.
Mhm.
Um, Now, I say give everything a try. You're not going to go spend $4,000 on automatic tools to try them. You know what I mean? It's not that
No, no.
what it is. But if there's one on site, run the box for a minute, right? Just see. It's
My
I
shoulders are sore.
I
That's
bet.
what, yeah. And my traps. Whoo. I mean, the can pack should have come with some CBD cream for the muscles as well. Just
Yeah.
throwing that out there, Wolfgang. And it's not because I can't handle it. It's just a new muscle that it's new muscles that I'm using. So very much like trying new machines at the gym,
Yeah.
or trying new stretches or just any type of new exercise like Pilates. Pilates will work muscles. We build out a lot of Pilates studios, so I've had to like take Pilates classes.
Okay.
Not for me, but I mean, man, will that thing work out muscles that you didn't even know existed. And so that's one of the things that yeah, I'm getting used to, is like the shoulders and the traps.
Yeah.
And but I will say that my core also just feels that stronger,
Yeah.
because I have to stand a certain way. And shout out to Kayla for not just sending me videos on how to do this, but also also sending me screenshots with how to position your body correctly and everything else. Because otherwise, I probably would have been like hunched over like this and like injuring myself. So the one thing I will say to the companies, all of them, not just Can-Am or Columbia Tools, whoever. I know there's a ton of other companies. I will say is that more tutorial videos on how to's, I think, and you can use people like Brawley, Brawley's dad, and you can use even Brawley. I'm sure Brawley will make a cameo on a video. He does it for you. But more videos on how to actually not just use the tools, but start with the tools, how to set up the tools, how to take apart the tools, how to clean them. I searched far and wide for videos on how to open up and, clean the tubes and what have you. And it wasn't easy to find. I just had to
Um,
DM somebody.
I, I, I'm trying to think of how old the videos are now, but Aaron in his younger years, because you're really old now, Aaron, um, has these, it's like every step of the way of like taking everything apart and
Yeah.
rebuilding it. But I mean, I don't feel like that's what you're talking about. I think it's like,
No, it
you
it
know,
it
just
is,
I
because you
do it
guys
like
do
this, I
take
do
the
it like
tools
that.
apart to clean
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah. Um, Yeah, they're
Not
used.
everybody keeps their tools in a bucket of water, y'all. I mean, some of us aren't going to use them every day.
Yeah.
I wish I could play with tools every day, but I have a project management company I have to run. So, I'm getting there. I'm getting there, right? Because like I said, I want to be like Chad, where there's this whole business that runs itself. And there is to an extent, but I'm just still very much involved with a lot of the clients and a lot of the work. So it means that I only get to play with tools maybe 2 or 3 days out of the week versus 5 or 6,
Yeah.
like some of you folks, And so, yeah, I can't keep my tubes in water, or I don't want to.
Yeah.
So
Especially with the tubes, you just get a clean bucket of water and plunge it in and out a couple of times. It cleans itself. Like, the amount of times that you see people with like seized up tubes, it's because they were left in water. It's just the way that it is. Um, yeah, it's a little crazy. Um, yeah. I've gotten, I was very lazy in the beginning with cleaning my tools, and now you just clean them, it's clean them up nice, put them away, and then when you need them again, they're brand new, right? I oil them up before I put them away. It just makes sense. Um,
yeah, I
but
clean I clean all my tools as I go. Honestly, I have a
yeah,
bucket of water next to me with a sponge, and I just clean the tools as I go and try to keep as clean of a workspace as possible as I'm training new, sub trades and people that are interested in this work. I'm also training them to do the same thing.
yeah,
My professional taping crew also does the same thing. And that's probably where I learned it from and picked it up from. So yeah, just keep your tools clean. And I mean, this is all your tools, not just drywall and taping
oh yeah,
tools, just your tools in general. I hate going on job sites and everything's just kind of thrown in a bucket, and people are always digging through their bucket or digging through their bag or what
nasty
have you.
one.
I hate that. Like, I cannot stand it. Keep your tools clean and keep
So
your tools organized.
as we're talking about all that, when you go down to Chad's, because their turnover is constant, um like 80% of his tools are just wrapped in plastic, still muddy, and he just takes them out the next day. They're the exact same as they were yesterday. They haven't dried up, and it's just
Nope.
go. And then
I do
every
that with my
afterwards,
paintbrushes because we do paint a
yes,
lot. We
yeah,
do paint a lot. So I do that with my paintbrushes. Not gonna lie. I mean, we go from one job site to another job site, and honestly, we paint the same 3 shades of white most of the time.
yeah.
So, at this point, we got like rollers and stuff that are like primer. you know, we've got
Chantilly
paintbrushes
lace,
that are,
yeah.
yeah, Chantilly lace, simply white.
I just hate it so much. Yeah. Oh,
Well, now we also have black. We paint a lot of black. So Black Beauty by Benjamin Moore
okay.
is a very popular color, and charcoal black. And so, yeah, anyway, the paintbrush is fine, but the drywall tools and the mudding tools, no, at least mine.
Yeah.
And my trowel, like that's my little like prized possession. And it's got like little gold on it and whatever. So yeah, I keep that baby like super clean. Super clean. And I think I'm gonna order one that's a little bit bigger as well. Now that I've built some muscles with my Canon tools and you know and I know Corey's coming out with some new blades also, so I'm pretty stoked about that because his little 3-in-1 is always on me.
Yeah.
And so I know that Corey really knows his stuff. His job sites are always absolutely flawless, so cannot wait to see. And he told me they're coming, they're
Yeah.
coming.
I'm so excited.
Mhm.
So the last I spoke with him, like the tech dry is doing so well that he's almost having trouble keeping up with production of the tech dry. So
Right.
he's looking into like other ways um of just getting things made, which is a great problem to have, that was focusing all your time on the stuff that's already selling. But man, just do a quick run of the new tools, Corey. I just want to see them. You
Yeah, well, last time we
send
chatted,
some out, buddy.
yeah, last time we chatted, he was in the process of, and he said, they'd be out very soon. So let's see. This pod will probably drop in the next week or so, I would assume, right? And it's January 1st, 2024. So between now and whenever his tools drop, let's see how long it's going to be easy for us to figure it out.
Yeah. Uh, he,
you know.
he's another one that I talked to, of just saying, why don't you come back on the podcast? And he's like, anytime, just anytime, let me
Yeah.
know. But I kind of want to have him on to talk about the new tools when they come out, but I think I'm done waiting. I think I just want to have him on anyways. We can talk about stuff.
Yeah, I have a really good friend that I've wanted to bring on to my live show, and I wanted to have her on early on because she's an incredible female in the trades and has been in the unions and engineering and all of that, for many, many years and decades, actually. And she's working on a product. And so I wanted to wait until we could talk a little bit about her product to bring her on, but now it's been so long that I'm just like, I just need to bring her on, and
Yeah,
then we'll bring her on again.
100%.
And yeah, there's, as businesses, if you don't have new stuff to talk about in the next year, then you're doing something wrong, or you're just not growing. And I think that's okay too, by the way.
Oh,
There are a
yeah.
lot of people who are very comfortable and they are steady
Totally.
and they steadily bring in a certain number of projects a year. They have their crew that they work with, and they have their office staff, and they've been doing things for, 20, 30 years consistently that way and bringing in that amount of revenue or close to it, and they're content.
Yeah.
Good for you, right?
I'm gonna find
But if
oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah. No, what I was going to say, but if you've been doing things like the same way for a long time and you've been stagnant in a place where you're not happy and you're not growing, then yeah, do things a little bit differently. Or, if I think people listen to our podcast last year versus our podcast this year, very different in a lot of the things that we are working on. I
Totally.
mean, I hadn't even touched a semi-automatic tool last year
Yeah.
or the last time we spoke.
Um, so this quote I heard the other day is, you already achieved goals you said would make you happy. So, there are people that just go, if I could just get here, I would be happy with that. And I would love to be able to do that. Just, you know, enough is enough. It doesn't need to be all this growth and adventure and all this stuff and live that way. But I'm just not capable of it. Like
You're not wired that way.
not right. There has to be a new goal. There has to be a new destination. But it's about the journey for me. It's not about like, that's like the difference between happiness and joy, right? Where you're happy when you win, basically. But joy is something you find in the process of winning.
Yeah, you got to find that constant state of joy
Totally.
in everything that you're doing, ups, downs. I mean, I can tell you the first time that I picked up tools, and I say this to all project managers, again, it was on my own project. I
Yeah.
was working on my own flip house, right? And so there were certain parts of the project that I chose to do myself. And then there were others where I chose to hire professional trades. And that was exhausting,
Yeah.
right? Demo work looks easy. No, that's actually one of the trades you should hire out.
They make it look easy. It's not easy.
It's not easy at all. And you can get hurt really easily doing demo too. And, so anyway, my point is that it I guess my point in all of this is, that we're talking about is that it looks easy until you like pick it up and do it, but you have to pick up and do it to understand it and to comprehend it and to also be able to empathize with the process or the people that are involved in the process and all of that, right? And so, I mean, was I planning to be a builder at the time? No,
Yeah.
I was just trying to save some money as an investor, you know,
Yeah.
and as a realtor, and I thought, oh, hey, this might be fun. But at the same time, I also realized like I can do this. It might take
Yeah.
me longer, it might cost a little bit more if I do it because I was even knowledgeable enough to know that since it took longer, I had carrying costs. It was gonna, you know, and even for some of the projects now, it's probably cheaper for me to hire somebody else to do it, but I want to learn how to continue to use my tools so and to grow and evolve because how am I supposed to teach other people if I'm not learning and growing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's that it was like 8,500 board feet or something, that basement. I should have just brought in a team and got it all done in a week, but it was one of those hurdles where it's like, okay, I want to see how long it takes me to do this myself. Um,
Mhm.
Now we had all
Eh,
kinds of complications on that site and no heat and just it was exciting to say the least. But by the time that we were out of there, it was essentially 3 weeks where, it
You
could
could have
have
done it
been.
in a week. Yeah, yeah, you could have done it in a week with more people. And so it all boils down to the client.
Yeah.
We talked about this in the last pod in that they either want it done quick
Yeah.
or they want it done cheap or they want super high quality. They can't have all three of those things. If they want it cheap and super high quality, then it's going to take longer, right? And so those are the projects where I can take my time and I know that I don't need to like rush through something. The bigger opportunity though now is that I can also just collaborate with my team and take on bigger projects or collaborate with other people who are good, like you and others
Mhm.
that we've talked about here on the podcast, and take on more projects, larger projects, projects in other parts of the country
Totally.
where, what we do, I mean, the grand scheme of things, we have insurance, every single one of us, right? We're not building anything from scratch. We're coming into tape, mud, and paint,
Yeah.
right? For the most part, in most cases. So we can come in as a sub trade. And if the numbers make sense for the people, then we're the right team for the job. If not, then we're not. And so going into 2024, I want to encourage people to say no more.
Yeah.
Say no to jobs you don't have the capacity to take. Say no to jobs that you have no business doing because you don't know what you don't know. And that goes for everybody, and say no to people who have nasty attitudes,
That's the one I was going to touch.
the last podcast that I did on LinkedIn, we talked about the constant nagging and complaining that happens in the field and on job sites. And it's not just drama on social media, but it's like on job sites,
Yeah.
right? You can choose, if you grow your business enough, you can choose to like not work with those people or not work with those clients or not engage or even entertain any of those type of projects, right? There are designers that are divas, and that's both male and female. There's architects and engineers who will never step foot to a building but draw it out with measurements,
Yeah.
that they took off a laser, and no shade on the laser, right? I love
I
my
love mine.
laser and
Yeah.
it's great for estimating, but when you're doing layouts, you still got to whip out that measuring tape. I don't care. I don't care. It's got to be like to the like eighth in America or millimeter in Canada and the rest of the world. And America, really? Why? Like,
I like
our
my I like my inches and
I
I don't know.
freaking hate it.
That's
I
how I learned.
freaking
And
I
now I
hate it.
also, if I'm doing anything real intricate, I get out the millimeter tape because
I can't.
it's just bang on, right? Like when you're going to the millimeter, it's
Millwork is like custom millwork, like you have to do to the
anything
millimeter.
custom.
Yeah, the eighth, the 16th, I mean,
Yeah, 30 seconds.
it's,
That's millwork. Yeah. Um, yeah, I
oh
mean,
man.
I worked with people last year that are probably a good opportunity to continue working for. There would probably be more money, not more money, but like there would be money that would come from that we're just not going to work with them again. Like
Yeah.
if it's a headache being on your site and like you don't show up and like when there's issues they are not handled, it's like, well, figure it out. Like that's not how it's done, right? Like,
I say that to my team sometimes, figure it out.
yeah, but I mean, when it makes sense, like if you don't have heat in a project and it needs to be heated, that that kills the taper, right?
Oh
Because
yeah,
for one,
100%,
uh,
100%.
I can't bring heat onto a site myself because if some idiot kicks it over while I'm not there, the house is going to burn down, and then I'm going
Hmm.
to get sued. We don't do that, right?
Yeah.
Having a dehumidifier and air movement, 100%. But when you're getting into heat and things like that, you really can't do it yourself. And if it's not done when it's asked for, it kills your timeline. And not the,
Yeah.
the project, because if a person doesn't care and like they're not putting in the effort to have the right environment there, their project's probably not running on point anyways. But as
Yeah.
the taper, we've got stuff next week. We've got stuff in a month or whatever the next checkpoint is that you've got to be done. You got to be on your way. So
Oh yeah.
it's
100%.
you lose money working with some people, and you have to see it and you have to do something about it. Like you can't just watch yourself hemorrhaging money, because he's a nice guy or whatever. It's a business at the end of the day. It's I
Well, I've been guilty of that though.
me too. Do it all the
I'm
time.
not gonna lie, you and I have talked about a few of the people on my team that I had to let go or part ways, it just didn't work out this past year for whatever reason. I'm really grateful for the community that we have,
Yeah.
online of other entrepreneurs that can basically bounce ideas with me and tell me, no, Gloria, this person is taking advantage of you, or hey, you guys butt heads too much. It's not going to work out. You need to make a decision. It's either her way or your way.
Yeah.
We parted with one of our project managers this past year and it sucked. It really did. She really helped me grow my business a lot. But at the same time, we were just different places
Yeah.
in our journey. And, we wanted to grow this way and she wanted to keep doing things her way. And it wasn't going to work. Right. And that happens. I think that's one of the hardest parts of being a business owner is knowing when to let people go
Totally.
and when to part ways with people. And it doesn't mean that you can't be friends or that you can't, have an amicable breakup. you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
it
Um,
it it often isn't, but if done correctly and eloquently, we fired a client last year in January.
yep.
We raised our prices and the client was not wanting to pay our new pricing
Okay.
and we were like, okay, here's a couple people that you can call if you still need help with XYZ project. We're going to finish this project for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the rate. for that project.
Yeah.
And yeah, then we're gonna pack up our tools and we're gonna demobilize and we're out.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, the builders have gotten so used to being in control, where it's like, not only do I not want you to raise your rates, but I want to kind of beat you up on the rates that you have just because I can, to make that little bit extra. And
Mhm.
sometimes they're like, you know what? Maybe we don't need the best quality. We'll go with someone lower quality and we'll, pocket that money. But it's bad business doing that. If you find somebody that you've got a good relationship with and they raise their rates, you need to ask yourself why. You need to take a look at what the replacement's going to look like the lesser of two evils sometimes, because you may find the next company, but the quality's not there, or the communication's not there, or all of the things. Those are the things that you pay for: organization, clarity.
My
I-
taper raised his rates on me
yeah,
actually
you
about
should
six
be
months
raising
ago.
rents. Yeah,
Yeah, about
after
6
getting
months
better.
ago, he raised his rates on me,
Yep.
and we sat down and had a conversation about it. And the conversation was very clear, actually. Transportation costs are more expensive
Yep.
for New York right now. There's commuter costs, all the tolls are like double or triple. The Yeah, I know. It's so dumb, but anyway, I digress. uh, Commuting costs are more expensive, parking costs, the cost of just bringing on board new people, because now it's not just him, he's got his brother and he's got other people beneath him, right? So he's got a little crew that he's built.
Right.
And so he's got some overhead. He explained to me that he did reach out to that insurance agent that I referred him to, and did get, better insurance to cover himself and his workers. So that's costing him a little bit more. And being that I'm a business owner myself and can empathize with that, I was like, okay, so since you raised your rates, we have to increase our rates. And
The way
that's
it goes.
that.
Yeah.
And it's only for certain projects, because certain clients have gotten used to him and myself, right? So for those clients that are used to us and continue asking for us, they now understand that. And I didn't raise my rates right away. I waited until Q4, which is when our year turns over.
Okay.
But at the same time, it was an understanding that, hey, if you want the same team, this is how much it's going to cost more.
Yeah.
And it's not a lot. It's like a 5% increase. It's really not that crazy in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
But to some people, that's a lot because they also have new expenses, right? So we tend to part ways. We
I,
had another client where we were the most expensive person.
yep.
We were, for a project, and we were not going to win the project,
Yeah.
and they asked us if we could lower our rates. And we were like, well, where's everybody else?
Yeah.
Right. One guy was super low, but had a ton of exclusions.
Yeah.
Like, how do you have sprinkler quote with no RPZ on it if it requires an RPZ? I mean, how do you exclude the RPZ altogether to begin with? And so, we went through the quotes with them, and it turned out we were actually the cheapest quote because ours had everything included.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were not the most expensive quote. We were the most expensive quote on paper,
Yeah.
but when you go through the leveling off process and you really start going line item by line item, or going back to these people who don't have line items in their proposal and being like, "Hey, does this include this? Does this include this? Does it include this? The hot water heater. The hot water heater's not included? Like, what?
That's a big ticket.
No."
Yeah.
I know.
I've said it a bunch of times, but typically the lowest quote has missed,
Ismo.
right? And the other thing is, especially up here, people do that on purpose, where they're like, yeah, we didn't add that to the quote. We're not doing that. That's not in our scope. but then by the time that it's necessary and it needs to be done, you've got your foot on the customer's neck. Like you're not going to bring anybody else in last minute to do this. Or if you do,
Oh
you're
yeah.
pay an arm and a leg for it. So then they go, oh, we'll just quote it. And we'll just quote that. That's fine. We'll do it while we're here. We just, didn't add it before. But now your original quote is up where the highest would have been, and it's probably not as good work. Like it's just the way that it is.
It's a strategy,
It is a strategy.
actually. It's a
Yeah.
strategy of certain contractors. I've gone to contractor trainings in my earlier years, and I actually even worked with a general contractor. It was the last general contractor that I worked for as a 1099 site safety person, before I started my own crews and my own teams and kind of like overseeing all my own projects 100%. But that was a part of his strategy.
Yeah.
So he hated it when I would actually speak up at site meetings, because I would always bring up stuff that was missed on purpose, and or stuff that I shouldn't have been bringing up, or whatever. But I didn't know that that was part of his strategy, and B, I didn't know that I wasn't allowed to speak up. That's another thing, that I
Yeah.
came from another business and company where you were allowed to, even if you were in an executive boardroom, you were allowed to speak up. So I was not used to not being able to use my voice. But I was told, hey, you're here to take notes and to translate. And other than that, even if that we're missing, X, Y, and Z from the scope, or we're skipping X, Y, and Z, or whatever, you're not allowed to bring it up.
Yeah. You see,
And it made no sense to me. I remember going into his office one day and him actually breaking this down for me and telling me, like, this is a part of the strategy because we make more money on change orders and this, that, whatever. And that was the day that I gave my 2 weeks notice and said,
sneaky.
that's a really dishonest and manipulative way to run a business. And he was like, this is construction, sweetheart. That's literally what he said. He said, this is construction, sweetheart. If you ain't cut out for it, go back and work at the bank or wherever, whatever he said. But I will never forget that this is construction, sweetheart,
Yeah.
because it is until it isn't. And so, that is why companies like my company and companies like your companies exist.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, that clarity. And I have a hard time with that kind of stuff because if I'm standing in a room, um, what I feel like I bring to the table is that clarity, honesty, foresight, all of those things. So I would have a very hard time with a client coming back to me going, how didn't you see that coming? Right? Because you're the guy that sees everything coming. Um, yeah, so yeah, I see that. um, so I don't know. It's it's tough. It's tough to watch things fall down and then lie about it for money. I just don't do it. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, we're
So
pushing.
cheers to running an honest business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it shows. People they see it, right? And I think that's why some people are doing so well. We're just over 2 hours. So you maybe wrap it up.
Yeah.
Let's
Let's
see.
wrap it up. I
Um,
think we've had a great conversation. Thank you again for having me.
of course.
And thank you for kicking off the year with me. And let's see what the rest of the 52 weeks bring, shall we?
Yes, I'm very excited for 2024. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for me. Everybody in our little community is really doing well coming into 2024. So I thought this was a great New Year's Day episode.
Thank you.
So everybody knows where to find you, Glowjoy. It's all over the place, everything construction. Where do we find your podcast? Like somebody that's not on LinkedIn, how do they find it?
You can go on YouTube, actually.
Okay,
So we are on YouTube and we are also on Facebook.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's awesome. Um,
Thank
thank you,
you.
none. I'm leaning in to get to the microphone, but it's we don't have it here, so it's throwing me off. Be humble, treat everyone the same, and do your fucking job.